Warning, this content may be disturbing to some audiences. Subscribe, if you dare.
Hold the door open for people coming in after you, for up to 5 seconds. Also, open and hold doors for elderly people, or people pushing a child in a stroller. Hey everybody, welcome to ANECDOSED. People ask Reddit. What's a socially accepted unwritten rule that you've noticed in a public setting?
Number 1.
Commenter, mine, when there is a line at a fast food restaurant and someone only needs a refill or some condiments, that person is allowed to go to the front of the line and ask the cashier for them. No one complains. No one gets upset. I live on the East Coast of the USA.
Number 2.
Commenter, don't try walking onto the bus before people are done exiting. You look like a goddamn asshole. Person B, I actually witnessed this back a few years ago while getting off a subway in NYC. Everyone inside the subway is waiting for the doors to open. They open and everyone outside of the doors moves aside to let the people out before entering, except this one douche who tried to force his way through the people exiting so he could get inside and grab a seat before the rest of the people got in. Some rather large man that was exiting the subway just straight up bulldozed the guy back out of the subway and yelled at him like a dog. Bad. You go to the back of the line and wait like a good boy. I almost fell over laughing.
Number 3.
Commenter, flashing your headlights to oncoming cars when you've just passed a speed trap. Even though they generally won't know exactly what you mean, people tend to slow down to figure out what's wrong and you save them a ticket. A small gesture of solidarity against the man. Person B, also, flashing your headlights when they don't have theirs on. Person C, or flashing your high beams when they didn't turn theirs off to let you drive without going blind.
Number 4.
Hold the door open for people coming in after you, for up to 5 seconds. Also, open and hold doors for elderly people, or people pushing a child in a stroller.
Number 5.
Commenter, if it's just you and some other person or group of people walking the same direction on a sidewalk, you must walk quite a bit faster than them or quite a bit slower than them. Anything else keeps you at a fixed distance behind them and really creeps people out. Person B, don't walk beside a stranger, either walk behind or ahead. It feels awkward for me to walk at the same pace of a stranger if the walkway is narrow.
Number 6.
Commenter, head up and eyes forward when using a public urinal. Person B, I think the man rule is a one urinal space in between guys. Unless there is a great divider and then a discussion can start about height and width, this is a setup for a lewd comment. Person C, back in the early 90s, I attended a concert at a venue where instead of urinals, there was just a stainless steel trough running the length of the bathroom wall. With this setup, the spacing between pissing people is left entirely up to the individuals involved. When I went onto the bathroom during the intermission, people were lined up 6 or 7 deep, and an animated discussion was underway about the remarkably consistent one body width of space each pisser was being given on either side. This was compared and contrasted with the body space requirements in other cultures. The sociological causes and implications of the phenomenon were analyzed. There was general agreement that it was all quite silly, given that many of us were desperate to urinate, and the trough could easily accommodate twice as many people as were actually pissing. A side discussion sprang up about why guys universally seem to prefer to piss on something, be it a wall or a tree, instead of pissing in the open. The one guy who finally said F cultural norms, I'm about to piss myself, and squeezed into one of the gaps was met with murmurs of approval and a smattering of applause, but nobody else followed his lead. By the time I reached the front of the line, I noticed that the discussion was looping back on itself, as newcomers joined in and made points that had been raised before they arrived. When I left, the discussion was still going on, with a completely new set of people than were present when I had entered. TL, Doctor, shit happens at Grateful Dead concerts that just doesn't happen anywhere else. Person D, at my work bathroom, which has one toilet and one urinal, men's room, we have several rules. 1. You don't speak to anyone who happens to be in the bathroom at the same time, and you keep your head down. 2. If someone is shitting the stall next to the urinal, you do your best to take care of your piss and GTFO. Notes: Rule 1 is only broken by the guy who works behind me and I hate him for it. Rule 2 was only broken by this creepy dude who used to follow me and wait for me to finish up, then stand around and ask me how I managed to stay in shape. He does not work here anymore. Person E, eyes straight ahead at the urinal. No talking, although many don't understand or agree with the second. I don't want to have a conversation about the weather when I'm taking a leak.
Number 7.
Commenter, You only sit next to someone when there are no other options, otherwise you leave at least one seat between yourself and your neighbor. I think that says a lot about natural human behavior, namely that we don't like being squeezed up against one another and need at least 2 feet of space to feel comfortable. Would the people who design airplanes and buses take that to heart? Person B. I've never experienced this, but my housemate who spent some time in India and is engaged to an Indian guy was telling me that over there the norm is for males to be close with other males and females to be close with other females. She also said that males tend to hold hands and whatnot while walking, and that if 2 couples went on a double date it would be most likely the 2 guys holding hands and the 2 girls holding hands. Person C. Indian here. When you walk on the sidewalk, there are 200 people walking in front of you and another 200 behind you. Not to mention cyclists and pushcart vendors on the same sidewalk. You better hold hands if you don't want to get lost. I was shepherding an American Indian friend through a packed street once holding hands, and every time I burrowed out an opening for myself through the sea of people, I dragged his hand to make sure he got right behind me.
Number 8.
Commenter. Randomly sitting at a desk the first day of class makes this your seat for the rest of the semester. Person B. I'm a high school teacher and every once in a while the janitor moves a few desks around, changing the number of places to sit in some of the rows. Every time this happens the kids lose their shit and maniacally shift the desks around until they are in the same desks in the exact place in the room. Person C. I had some chick literally shout at me in class for sitting in the wrong seat. I usually sat 2 desks ahead of her, with an empty seat between, and one day I sat immediately in front of her. Bear in mind this is maybe the 2nd week of class. I told her honestly that I had no idea which of the desks was mine but that it wasn't really a big deal, and she told me that she would do worse on tests if everyone didn't sit in the same spot. Overall, this rule baffles me. What if you accidentally sit behind someone with big hair?
Number 9.
When you get in an elevator, turn around and face the door. My ex had an assignment for a class once where they had to break an unwritten social norm, and he got into a crowded elevator and didn't turn around. Everyone was extremely uncomfortable, except him. He loved making people squirm.
Number 10.
Commenter. Stand on the right, walk on the left on escalators. Northeastern US, NYC. Person B. On every sidewalk, and in every hallway, I end up wanting to yell, get on the effing right side. We're in effing America. Person C. In the UK, people are really good at doing this generally. Although it's not exactly unwritten, as I've seen signs in public transportation stations telling people to do it. I'm from Boston and go to school in NYC, and people don't do it consistently enough. Person D. The traffic flow of most people in a society will be the same as the traffic flow of cars in that same society. In America most people walk on the right side of a hallway, where in England most people walk on the left side of a hallway. Escalators also adhere to this rule.
Number 11.
The distance people maintain between each other when talking, which apparently varies between cultures. A guy I used to work with was Russian, and his face would only be a few inches away if he came up to speak with you.
Number 12.
Letting the person behind you, with one item, at the grocery store go before you if you've got 75 things to be scanned and paid for.
Number 13.
If you are sitting on a bus or in a lecture room, and someone really big or smelly or something sits right beside you, you just kinda sit there like you are cool with it. Even if there are other free seats that they totally would have taken, or that you could move to. I feel like just moving away for no apparent reason is forbidden.
Number 14.
If you're at an intersection and someone is trying to take a left from the other direction, slowing down and flashing your headlights means go ahead. I thought this was pretty universal, but I had a friend from California who had no idea what this meant. Add-on question: does this apply to right turns in the UK, etc.? Edit. This also commonly occurs when someone needs to make a left turn onto a street, crossing 2 lanes of traffic without a light. It seems it is a pretty local thing. The roads in MA are pretty shitty, and the intersections usually don't have protected left turn lights. It may seem like it gets in the way, but the truth is during heavy traffic there's sometimes no other way to pull out of a parking lot than to wait for someone to let you in. In fact, pulling out over half of the road, blocking traffic from your left and waiting for a gap in traffic to your left, while illegal, is sometimes referred to as a Massachusetts here, as it's regrettably sometimes the only way to get through.
Number 15.
The person standing closest to the button panel on an elevator automatically becomes the operator for everyone else who gets on.
Number 16.
Commenter. If a girl/woman is getting off a train with a heavy bag/suitcase and you're waiting to board, you help her with the bag. This also applies to guys if they've got a lot of bags and anyone who has a pram. Person B. I agree. If someone looks like they're struggling with something, it's nice to offer to help, and if they look fine, you may as well leave them alone. More often, the ones who look like they're struggling with something are women, but that's incidental.
Number 17.
Not talking on your cell phone inside buses and trains. I hate when people treat the bus/train/subway as their own personal office and spend their entire commute talking on their phones. It doesn't bother me when people on the train are talking to each other. But cell phone chatty Kathys and Kevins always seem to have to scream to be heard, and half a conversation is so much more distracting than a normal conversation. I don't care about short talks, like coordinating a meeting place or telling someone you'll call back once you're off the bus. But some people use their hour commute to catch up with seemingly everyone they know.
Number 18.
Keep your voice down in a library. Cover your mouth when sneezing/coughing. Don't mention the score of the game if you're unsure of whether someone has seen it or not. Don't talk with your mouth full, no elbows on the table. Don't tell someone their baby is ugly. Take off your shoes when you're entering someone's house.
Number 19.
When picking seats inside of a movie theater, don't sit directly in front of other people, providing there are enough seats to allow you a good place to still see the show.
Number 20.
Flush public toilets with your foot. When you get on an elevator with only one other person, you stand as far away from that person as possible. So always gets the front seat. Smokers are allowed to ask complete strangers for cigarettes/a light. Never walk between two people talking to each other, even if there is more than enough space to pass through. You can get your bill at a restaurant by drawing a check mark in the air. Make sure to share your personal story in the comments below and have the opportunity to be featured in a future video. Also, if you like these topics, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification button to continue seeing more content like this every day. See you next time.